Hello guys and gals, and I'm back with a reading of poetry. The poetry we'll be reading is from The Best Poems Ever, a collection of poetry's greatest voices edited by Edric S. Mesmer. I think that Edric, yeah. And this is a scholastic book. In other words, my complaint is that the writing is really, really small, so it's going to be difficult for me to read, but it's okay. And there's other books by Scholastic. And Scholastic really puts out some really good books, I do have to say that. Table of contents right here. And FYI, The Raven is in here by Edgar Allan Poe. It's one of my favorite poems, so I can't wait to get there. But we might not get there this round. Okay. This first poem is called Blessing the Boats by Lucille Clifton at St. Mary's. May the tide that is entering even now the lip of our understanding carry you out beyond the face of fear. May you kiss the wind, then turn from it, certain that it will love you back. May you open your eyes to water, water waving forever, and may you in your innocence sail through this to that. That's beautiful. Okay. Make sure that I'm not getting too... Okay, 1, 2. Okay. Page 2. The author to her book by Anne Bradstreet. Sorry, it's taking me a while to read this because the writing is kind of small. And we're going to go look at this one while I read this one, just so I'm not looking through the viewfinder of my phone. Thou ill-formed offspring of my feeble brain, who after birth didst by my side remain, till snatched from thence by friends less wise than true, who thee abroad, exposed to public view, made thee in rags halting to the press to trudge, where errors were not lessened, all may judge. At thy return my blushing was not small, my rambling brat in print, should mother call, I cast thee by as one unfit for light, thy visage was so irksome in my sight. Yet being mine own, at length affection would, excuse me, thy blemishes amended, if so I could. I washed thy face, but more defects I saw, and rubbing off the spot still made a flaw. I stretched thy joints to make thee even feet, yet still thou runst most hobbling than is meet. Is better dressed to trim thee was my mind, but not save homespun clothes I find thy house I find. In thy array amongst vulgars mayst thou roam, in critics' hands beware thou dost not come, and take thy way where yet thou art not known. If for thy father asked, say thou hast none, and for thy mother, she, alas, is poor, which caused her thus to send thee out the door, or out of the door. So this is about an author and her book, creating her book and the struggles that she had. It's brilliant. Okay. When Great Dogs Fight. Now we're going to go here. Okay. By Melvin B. Tolson. Okay. He came from a dead-end world of underbreed, a mongrel in his look and in his deed. His head sagged lower than his spine, his jaw spooned wretchedly, his timid little claws were gnarls, a fear lurked in his rheumy eye, when dwarfing pedigree paraded by. Often he saw the bulldog, arrogant and grim, beside the formidable mastiff, and the sight of them, devouring chunks of meat with juices red, needled pangs of hunger in his belly and head. Sometimes he whimpered at the ponderous gate until the regal growls shook the estate. Then he would scurry up the avenue, singeing the hedges with his buttercup hue. The spool of luckless days unwound, and then the izzard cur, accursed of dogs and men, heard yelps of rage beyond the iron fence, and saw the jaws and claws of violence. I'm not sure if it goes on like that. Oh, here, and it goes on. Oh. He paddled through the gate and that leaned ajar, maneuvered towards the slashing arcs of war, and pounced upon the bone, and winging feet bore him into the refuge of the street. A sphinx haunts every age and every stone. When great dogs fight, the small dog gets a bone. That was brilliant. That was by Melvin B. Tolson, When Great Dogs Fight. Okay, now this is called From To a Skylark by Percy Bysshe-Shelley. And I'm sorry if I butchered that name. I'm not familiar with how to pronounce that. The only Percy I know of is Percy Jackson. Percy Bysshe-Shelley. Okay, and this is From To a Skylark. Hail to thee, blithe spirit, bird thou never wert, that from heaven or near it pourest thy full heart. In profuse strains of unpremeditated art. Yeah, I was making sure that I said that right. It is premeditated. Higher still and higher from the earth thou springest. Like a cloud of fire, the blue deep thou wingest. And singing still dost soar, and soaring ever singest. In the golden lightning of the setting sun, o'er which clouds are brightening, thou dost float and run, like an unbodied joy whose race has just begun. That's all of that one. And I think that was really pretty good. Very descriptive poem. I like that. Okay. Now, we have... Here, this is a William Shakespeare piece called Sonnet 130. Yeah, but we'll focus on this one for now. Let you guys focus on this one. My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun? If hair be wire, black wires grow on her head. I have seen roses damasked red and white, but no such roses see I in her cheeks. And in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. I love to hear her speak, yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground, and yet by heaven I think my love is rare, as any she belied with false compare. That's beautiful. A Red Hat by Gertrude Stein. A dark gray, a very dark gray, a quite dark gray is monstrous ordinarily. It is so monstrous because there is no red in it. If red is in everything, it is not necessary. Is that not an argument for any use of it? And even so, is there any place that is better? Is there any place that has so much stretched out? Brilliant. On to page 8. This one's kind of long. This one is called Exile's Letter by Rihaku Lipo. Rihaku. To Sokin of Rakuyo Ancient friend, Chancellor of Gen, now I remember that you built me a special tavern by the south side of the bridge at 10 Shem. With yellow gold and white jewels, we paid for songs and laughter. And we were drunk for month on month, forgetting the kings and princes. Intelligent men came drifting in from the sea and from the west border. And with them, and with you especially, there was nothing at cross purpose. And they made nothing of sea crossing or of mountain crossing. If only they could be of that fellowship. And we all spoke out of our hearts and minds and without regret. And then I was sent off to South Way. I think that's pronounced way. Smothered in laurel groves. And you to the north of Raku Huku, till we had nothing but thoughts and memories in common. And then when separation had come to its worst, we met and traveled into Sengo. Okay. Through all the 36 folds of the turning and twisting waters, into a valley of the 1,000 bright flowers, that was the first valley, and into the 10,000 valleys full of voices and pine winds, and with silver harness and reins of gold. Out came the east of Can Foreman and his company. And there came also the true man of Shio to meet me, playing on a jeweled mouth organ. In the storied houses of Sanko, they gave us more Senin music. Many instruments, like the sound of a young phoenix, broods. The foreman of Can, Chu, drunk, danced, because his long sleeves couldn't keep still with that music playing. And I, wrapped in brocade, went to sleep with my head on his lap. And my spirit so high, it was all over the heavens, and before the end of the day, we were scattered like stars or rain. I had to be off to sow, far away over the waters, you back to your river bridge, and your father, who was brave as a leopard, with governor in Heishi, and put down the barbarian rabble. Alright, does it go on? Oh, it does. Good. This one is really fascinating. I like this. Okay. I'm going to focus on this page right now. And one May, I believe they mean the month, he had you sent for me, despite the long distance. And what with broken wheels and so on, I won't say it wasn't hard going. Over roads twisted like sheep's guts, and I was still going, late in the year. In the cutting wind from the north, thinking how little you cared for the cost, and you cared enough to pay it. And what a reception. Red jade cups, food well set on a blue jeweled table, and I was drunk, and had no thought of returning. And you would walk out with me to the western corner of the castle, to the dynamic temple with water about it, clear as blue jade, with boats floating and the sound of mouth organs and drums, with ripples like dragon scales going grass green on the water. Pleasure lasting with courtesans going and coming without hindrance, with the willow flakes falling like snow, and the vermilioned girls getting drunk about sunset, and the water 100 feet deep reflecting green eyebrows. Eyebrows painted green are a fine sight in young moonlight. gracefully painted, and the girls singing back at each other, dancing in transparent brocade, and the wind lifting the song and interrupting it, tossing it up under the clouds. And all this comes to an end, and is not again to be met with. I went up to the court for examination, tried Layu's luck, offered the Choyo song, and got no promotion, and went back to the East Mountains, white-headed. And once again, later we met at the South Bridge head, and then the crowd broke up. You went north to San Palace, and if you ask how I regret that parting, it is like the flowers falling at spring's end. Confused, whirling in a tangle, what is the use of talking, and there is no end of talking, there is no end of things in the heart. I call in the boy, have him sit on his knees here to seal this, and send it 1,000 miles thinking. And that was translated by Ezra Pound. So I believe that's all that one. That was really fascinating. This one is simply titled, untitled, actually, by Afra Ben. And we're going to go look at this one. This one is super short. It's another one by Ezra Pound. Okay. Not to sigh and to be tender, not to talk and prattle love. Is a life no good can render, and insipidly does move. Unconcern does life destroy, which without love can know no joy. Life without adorning beauty will be useless all the day. Love's a part of human's duty, and his pleasure to obey. In vain the gods did life bestow, where kinder love has naught to do. What is life but soft desires, and that soul that is not made to entertain what love inspires? O thou dull, immortal shade, thou'st better part with flesh and blood than be where life's not understood. That was untitled by Afra Ben. This is called In the Station of the Metro by Ezra Pound. The apparition of these faces in the crowd petals on a wet black bough. Okay. We still have time to read a few more of these. This is going to be probably a multi-part series. Ode to Enchanted Light by Pablo Neruda. Under the trees, light has dropped from the top of the sky. Light like a green latticework of branches, shining on every leaf, drifting down like clean white sand. A cicada sends its sighing song high into the empty air. The world is a glass overflowing with water. Translated by I'm not even going to begin to... Krabbenhoft. And now we will read Life in a Love by Robert Browning. Escape me? Never, beloved. While I am I, and you are you, so long as the world contains us both, me the loving, and you the loth. While the one exudes, must the other pursue. My life is a fault, at last, I fear. It seems too much like a fate, indeed. Though I do my best, I shall scarce succeed. But what if I fail, and of my purpose here? It is but to keep the nerves at strain, to dry one's eyes, and to laugh at a fall, and buffed, get up and begin again. So the chase takes up one's life, that's all. While look but once from your farthest bound at me so deep in the dust and dark. No sooner the old hope drops to ground, that new one, straight to the self same mark, I shape me ever removed. That was by Robert Browning, I think. Yeah. And we did make it to the Raven. We're probably going to read this one and then call it quits. I usually only want these to last half an hour. So, I used to have this one memorized, actually, or part of it. This is The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. I think everybody basically has heard this one at least once. I think even The Simpsons had like an episode on this. So, anyways. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volumes of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as if someone gently rapping on my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this, and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember it was in that bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly I had sought in borrow from my book surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. Okay, let me just... And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, and so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, and I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door, darkness there, and nothing more." Horror at its best, I love it. Okay. Deep into the darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. Okay, now on to page 18. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." Then I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. So again I heard a tapping, somewhere louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely there was something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thread is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, and with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven, of the saintly days of yore, not in the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door. Perched upon the bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door. Perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling by the grave and stern decorum of the consonants it wore. "Though my crest be shorn and shaven, thou," I said, "art sure no craven, ghastly, grim, and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what the lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Okay, I need to move this a little bit. Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to heat discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little reverently bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculpted head above his chamber door, with such a name as nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only. Let's turn the page. On page 20 now. The one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled, as the stillness broke by reply so aptly spoke, doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whose unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs once burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore of nevermore. But the raven still beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy into fancy thinking, what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. Then I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing, to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining, on the cushion's velvet lining, that the lamplight gloating o'er, but whose velvet violet lining, with the lamplights gloating o'er, she shall pass, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretched, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite, and nephthe from thy memory of Lenore. Quaff, O quaff, this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. On to page 22. This is a long poem. I love it. It's brilliant in its structure. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed, thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted. Tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aidenn I shall clasp the sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a fair and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form off from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming. And the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. That will take us to just a little bit over the 30-minute mark, and that was The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. We made it to page 24, which was pretty good. I'm going to see how many pages there are in here. Looks like we'll probably get 3 parts out of this. There are 71 pages. And that's a nice little book. We've been reading from The Best Poems Ever, a collection of poetry's greatest voices, edited by Edric S. Mesmer. So, if you like this content, then make sure that you hit the like button. Subscribe and ring the bell so you can know when I upload. I have a wide variety of content on my channel. I'm up to nearly 300 videos. I might have surpassed 300 by now. But with that being said, I appreciate all the support. All the information you will ever need, will be in the description. And as always, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.